Hey guys, what's going on? This is Aaron Bridgewater here. Wanted to take a quick moment and do one of these super cool drive and talk videos. There's been a lot of speculation as to what's going on in the real estate market in the coming future. We have the Burnett versus the National Association of Realtors class action settlement upon us, and those changes are probably going to take place. At least they're slated to take place mid-July of this year, 2024. Nobody really has any concrete paperwork or information on it, at least at the time of me recording this video. The short of the long is a lot of people got irritated because when they were listing and selling their houses, they couldn't understand why, like let's say I list your house for 6%, and then a cooperating brokerage brings a buyer to that listing, and then we split those commissions 3% and 3%. The sellers just, quite frankly, didn't really care for the fact that they had to pay for the buyer's representation. Now, it has been this way for a very, very, very long time. I want to say 60, 70 years, something like that. And the reason it's always worked that way, and I've been a consumer. I have sold and bought. I've been on the consumer side several times, so I completely get it. I know what the frustrations are when it comes to looking at your bottom line and trying to comprehend why this or why that. But I have been a full-time real estate professional for 8 years now, and I have a lot more knowledge in the industry than I did back in the day. And the reason it works this way is because a buyer, on top of their down payment money, closing costs, all the fees and things they have to go through to close a real estate transaction, is very daunting. And the last thing that most buyers have any extra money for is to pay thousands of dollars for representation to, safely and accurately represent those people and make sure that they are not taken for a ride. So it works in the fact that, yeah, it sucks when you sell a house and you're paying a 6% listing fee or whatever. And by the way, that has always been a negotiable figure. So that's part of my frustration with this class action settlement. Those fees go to pay for the buyer's brokerage. Sellers don't really care for that, and they don't understand why it's been that way. So that's what the class action lawsuit is all about. The NAR has settled, and they are paying over $400 million out in a class action lawsuit to people who begrudgingly paid their list agents 6% or 5% or whatever the fees were and split those commissions to cover the buyer's representation. I get it. Been there, whatever. What we need to understand about this is moving forward, it will probably make the market weird for a little bit. Contracts will change. Attorneys are always the winners in these situations because not only is the receivership going to make a gajillion dollars on this class action settlement, there's going to be a jillion other attorneys who are going to be rewriting all of the, purchase agreement paperwork, the listing agreements. At least that's what the speculation is. And they're no longer going to allow agents to advertise the cooperating brokerage commission on the MLS. And this goes for all 50 states. This is every single real estate agent that every brokerage, they're all affected by this. So for example, if I list your home and it's 6%, I would put on the MLS that the cooperating brokerage is going to receive a commission of around half of that. Let's say it's 3%. They're no longer allowing you to do that. So what we're going to be doing moving forward is just going to be calling old things new names. So instead of allowing a commission on the MLS, we are going to be calling it a concession. So you'll have to discuss with your list agent, hey, maybe our listing fee is 3% and we're going to offer an additional 3% in the form of a concession to the buying party, and the buying party can sort that out with their representation, and that can go to their representation to pay them. The reason it has always worked this way is because when you are a buyer, you have those fees paid for. When you hire a real estate agent or a real estate professional in any capacity to represent you in the transaction, you do not have to worry about paying for that representation because it's already being covered out of the listing agreement for that particular seller. And it's not always been everyone's favorite thing to pay for, but it exists for a reason. So every seller is also a buyer. So yeah, you might have to eat some fees when you sell a home, But also, when you're buying a home, nobody ever complained because they have free representation. So that's the way it's always worked. Now, I hear a lot of people saying, hey, you can sell a home by yourself. You don't need a real estate agent. And I'm here to tell you that that is 100% correct. You do not need a licensed real estate professional to buy or sell a home for you. But if you do not know the ins and outs of this process, the deadlines, the contracts, the paperwork, all the things that need to be done in a chronological order to have a successful closing, then you will more than likely have a very hard time doing this. I've actually done this myself in the past, and you know what it did? It screwed me. I actually sold a home on land contract one time. I did everything myself, and ultimately it ended up not working out in my favor whatsoever. And I was extorted, and I had a lot of money that I had to pay out in order to make the problem go away. And the reality is the people who bought my home ended up being able to take some money from me. And all of this happened because I didn't really know what I was doing. Yeah, I understand the concept, and it's not a very hard concept, but all of the little nuances that people don't realize us agents have to deal with. For example, we are, in most cases, with every transaction, we are somewhat of a therapist. This is a very emotional, large investment that people are making. It's in most cases the biggest investment that they've ever made in their lives. So we take this very seriously. I bend over backwards for everybody that I work for, and we are a confidant. We are a fiduciary, and we are basically your legal representation in a real estate transaction because we are here to protect you. We're here to make sure that when that deal closes, you have clear title and all of the ducks are in the row. And another thing regarding title, I've also heard other people, because I know someone's yelling at me through the phone right now, oh, it's easy, you can do this, and you just get a purchase agreement whipped together and you submit it to the title company and the title company does all the work. No, a title company does not do all the work. And I can tell you right now, I probably am speaking on behalf of all title agents right now, they are not there to hold your hand through a real estate transaction. That is what a licensed real estate agent is there for. The title company is not there to train you, to help you, get over every hurdle of a real estate transaction. And there are many facets of a real estate transaction. You have the initial purchase agreement. If it's not written properly, who's it representing? Is it protecting you? Is it protecting the seller? Is it protecting both of you equally? What are the deadlines? How much is the earnest deposit money? When does it have to be deposited? At what point is that money non-refundable? If somebody doesn't want to refund it, what are the ramifications? What inspections are needed to bind insurance with homeowners? What inspection windows are involved in this contract? How soon does everything have to be done? There are many, many pitfalls in a real estate transaction that if you're not doing this every day, quite frankly, you just don't really understand all of it. That doesn't mean you can't do it. I'm saying all this to say that you can do things on your own, but the reality is you are paying for peace of mind when you hire a real estate professional to hold your hand through the transaction. That's what a real estate agent's job is. It's not the title company's. It's not anyone else's job. That's the real estate agent's job. And if you are able to represent yourself in that capacity, that is awesome. And I say more power to you. And there are lots of people in the world that are able to do that. Investors do this all the time. But for your average family who sells a house once or twice in their whole life, maybe 3 or 4 times, if you're not doing this every day, you forget a lot of these things. And who knows where you're getting these contracts from. Like if you're going to go ahead and rip something off the internet and you want to do a purchase agreement for a $500,000 house and you don't have the right verbiage in place, then it's not going to help you. And it can make things a lot harder on you than it needs to be. So if you're selling on your own, that's great. If you're hiring a real estate agent, yes, I'm biased. I work in the industry. I think that that is a very, very smart move. And the fact of the matter is, moving forward, whatever misinformation comes out or whatever they're trying to tell people is going to happen, or I already see headlines in publications right now. Oh, the long-time 6% staple in the real estate world is no longer. You'll no longer have to spend 6% to sell a home. And the most aggravating part about it is this lawsuit all hinges around the concept that real estate agents and brokers have been able to artificially inflate the value of homes to make larger commissions. That is a 100% lie. That is completely asinine. We have zero control over the value of a home. These homes have to be appraised 99 times out of 100 unless it's a cash buyer. And when you're a cash buyer, you're not stupid with your money. Cash buyers are usually the most shrewd because they know that they are paying full cash for the home and that it's the most enticing offer for a seller and that cash is king and all these things. So what do you think they're going to do? You think they're just going to overpay for houses? No, they don't. I'm just saying all of this because moving forward, there's probably going to be a lot of misinformation. There's going to be a lot of confusion as to how this works. And if you have somebody telling you, oh, you only have to pay 2.5% or 3% to list a house from here on out, and then the buyer has to pay for their own representation, it is going to be extremely hard to sell your home. Flat out. Because a buyer, most of the time, a buyer doesn't even want to come straight to the list agent if that's the way that you expect them to run the deal, because in a lot of cases, they think it's a conflict of interest. If you are the list agent, you're representing the seller, and then a buyer comes along, what makes you think that a buyer always wants to come directly to you as the list agent? They don't always want to do that. It is legal. I mean, I have handled plenty of what they call double dip closings or dual agency. In the state of Florida, we are transaction agents, so it is legal. I've done it many times, and I represent both parties with full integrity, and I bend over backwards for both sides, and we come to the easiest resolve to make sure that everybody is happy. But they don't always want to do that. Sometimes buyers, actually in most cases, buyers just want to have their own legal representation, and you're paying for the convenience and the ability to take a deep breath and sleep at night because you know somebody is handling this transaction for you. It's a lot of money, and there's a lot of mistakes that can be made, and there are a lot of tripwires, and if you don't know how to deal with them, it can be very costly for you. It's a stupid saying, but have you ever heard, if you think hiring a professional is expensive, try hiring an amateur? That is one of the dumbest but truest statements I've ever heard, because it has actually screwed me in the past, and I know it can screw others. So whether you're selling by owner or whether you are putting your trust in a real estate agent, there's no wrong answer. But moving forward, we're going to be calling old things new names, and the business will continue as usual. But I can't guarantee that it's not going to make the market weird for a while, especially if you have buyers thinking one thing and sellers thinking another. But we will power through, and if you guys have entrusted in me to handle a real estate transaction for you in the past, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. As you know, the lifeblood of my business is referrals and repeat business, and just telling your friends about the good job that I may have done for you. And if you need help moving forward, just go ahead and give me a call. You guys know how to get a hold of me. This is all I do 24/7, and I'd be happy to explain things further in person. You guys, I appreciate you for watching. Thank you so much. Hopefully this kind of clarifies a little bit about what is happening in the real estate world. We will go ahead and get through it. Thanks for watching, guys.